What's going on, everyone? It's been a long time since I've been on here making a video. Since the last time I made a video, it's probably been about 6 months now. Had a lot of changes in my life since the last video. If you came on here hoping to see my Z06, it's gone. It's long gone. Sold it about 6 months ago. I was just offered too much money for it compared to what I paid for it. Drove the car for a year. Put about 10,000 miles on it and still ended up selling it for about 15,000 more than what I paid for it. Ended up buying a ZL1 Camaro, drove that around for a little while. Unfortunately, my wife got into an accident with her car. I wanted to get her something really nice. So yeah, you guys are gonna make fun of me. I traded in the ZL1 and got her a nice SUV. Still have my Nissan Daily Driver, of course. But in that time, I made the decision I wanted to start riding again. I used to ride all the time. I used to be a track junkie. My wife was always against it. She knows she wasn't with me at the time, but I went through a severely debilitating accident back in 1995. Was back on bikes for about 20 years, and then I stopped riding about 9 years ago when we got together. You know, don't kill me. She didn't give me one of those ultimatums, but you know, she did express it was something that she didn't want in her life. She was worried about something happening to me. So I would rather have my wife than not have her. So I listened to that blessing, and I hadn't ridden. But now her opinion has changed. I'm older. I don't do the things I used to do, and back on two wheels. So the bike that I purchased. So I was looking at a lot of different bikes, okay? Looked at just about everything out there from Harley Davidson's. I was looking at the new Lowrider S with the 117-inch cubic inch motor. Drove that around for a full day and a half, and I liked the bike a lot. Looked at the Indians. Man, it's the cruisers are just not for me. So I ended up narrowing it down. I started looking at my sport bikes again, and I ended up narrowing it down to about 4 different bikes. Sorry about that. My stand started fading away. That's how long it's been since I made a video. I'm actually nervous making a video again. So anyway, so I narrowed it down to about 4 different bikes. I was looking at the Fireblade. I had one on deposit. It had a recall on it, so I had to wait. So that gave me a little bit more time to look at some other bikes. I came close to buying the BMW SR1000, the M model with the carbon fiber wheels and everything. I looked at the ZX10RR, and then I was also looking at the Yamaha R1M. Like I said, I've always been a track guy, so that's the type of bike I wanted to ride. Unfortunately, once I started looking at these bikes, you know, I also sat on the Ducati Panigale, and I was looking to get the Superleggera because if any of you guys know me in my past, I had a couple of fully prepped race Ducati 916s, the Legend, and that's what I used predominantly on the track, and I absolutely loved them. However, 20 years later, about 70 pounds later, and they are freaking torture racks to ride. You cannot ride these bikes for more than an hour and be comfortable. Got to the point where when I sat on the Ducati or I sat on the Aprilia RSV4, I actually got a cramp swinging my leg over it. Fireblade was pretty comfortable for an aggressive sport bike like that. So was the BMW. The R1 was definitely not, and neither was the ZX10RR when I sat on it. So that really brought me to either the Fireblade or the BMW. BMW I liked a lot. I don't know what it was about it. It was fairly comfortable. When I was choosing between that and the Fireblade, I was really just leaning towards the Fireblade. I used to have an RC45 back in the day, the original V4 race bike, and I absolutely loved an HRC bike. The quality of them, the fit and finish of them, they're just incredible machines. So I was set. I was going to get that Fireblade. The only thing I was waiting for was they had a recall on it, and until they got the parts in, I wasn't allowed to take delivery of the bike. They wouldn't even take full payment on the bike. So that, I was looking at a month to 2 for that. So in the meantime of looking at that, I happened to see a Gen 3 Hayabusa, brand new, just came out on the showroom floor, and I sat on it. And man, it just felt so right, so comfortable. I just put the money down right away, pulled the deposit off the Fireblade, which, really didn't, there was no really end in sight when specifically the blade was going to be ready to purchase anyway. But the Hayabusa, it just felt so good sitting on it. It was kind of a bucket list bike. Like I said, I've been riding for well over 20 years. I had a let's see, what did I have? I had a ZX7 when the original Busa came out. And then I had a TL1000R. I just bought that. And at that time, the R1 just came out, the original R1 with 150 horsepower. And then Suzuki released the Hayabusa. It was like 175 horsepower, if I remember correctly, back in the day. And that thing was just obliterating everything. It killed the CBR. Blackbird at the time. It was a legend. It started out as a legend. Well, that bike was on my bucket list. It wasn't feasible at the time for me to get one because I was such a track junkie, and it just wasn't that great on the track. It was made to go in a straight line really fast. Fast forward a couple of years, the Gen 2 came out, 194 horsepower. A lot of these 1000cc leader bikes started catching up. I had a K6 Gixxer 1000 at the time, and that was pushing, if I remember right, 175 horsepower. But it was close to 100 pounds lighter than the Busa. So the Busa just wasn't, it was still a tremendous bike. It was great on the drag racing scene with the longer wheelbase, the bigger displacement, a lot easier to go fast on it when you start getting into mods. But right off the showroom floor, I just couldn't justify getting that over the GSX-R 1000 at the time. And slowly but surely over the years, the leader bikes caught up to the Busa and surpassed it. Today's leader bikes will go past the Busa without any issues. Maybe 0 to 60, maybe 0 to 100. The Busa is going to be a little bit quicker because it puts the power down to the ground a little bit quicker. Heavier bike, a lot more torque. But once you start getting up into that 100-mile-an-hour range, those other bikes are just going to go right past it now. So the new Busa, what the bike isn't. It is certainly not the fastest bike out there anymore. You got the Ducati capable of doing 235 horsepower, I think, and it's like 415 pounds, somewhere around there. You got all the leader bikes, the GSX-R 1000, the Fireblade is incredible, 206 horsepower when it's de-restricted. You got the BMW, over 200 horsepower. I mean, there's bikes out there that are just on that top end. Those leader bikes, you just can't beat them for power to weight ratio. They're just incredible. So the new Busa, it's heavy. It's 567 pounds, somewhere around there. It is not nimble by any means, but it's comfortable and I could ride it all day. So I've had the bike for a couple of weeks now. I've already put 1,100 miles on it. That's saying a lot when you consider I work 60 plus hours a week. What the Busa is, okay? So it's bigger, okay? I'll tell you right now, it is probably the quintessential big guy, older guy sport bike. It's a bike for guys like us that still want to ride sport bikes, but don't want to be tortured every time we're riding them. So the bike, the Gen 3 bike, man, the best I can say is it's kind of evolved into a sport tourer, so to speak. But it is a monster of a sport tourer. Still doing, I think it's rated at 188 horsepower, so it's down slightly from the Gen 2 bike, but it's also got the Euro 5 emissions. It's got like 3 or 4 catalytic converters on it. I am going to play with the bike. I'm going to do stuff with it. The other thing, so I've never ridden a Gen 2 Busa, but I've heard a lot about them and a lot of people riding them. They don't corner too well. They're very similar to the first one. They're made to go in straight lines fast. So I'm going to contradict myself here. And for a 560 plus pound bike, this bike is nimble as heck. Yeah, I'm trying not to curse. But yeah, this bike is pretty nimble for such a big bike. I'm going to do more stuff to it. a couple of videos out there. You throw an exhaust on the bike, you'll knock 30 pounds off the bike just from pulling that exhaust off and pulling a full system on it. I'm going to end up putting wheels on it. I'm going to go for some Cormoto wheels, some forged aluminum wheels. That'll take roughly 10 pounds of rotating mass, which is huge. The act of taking rotating mass off the bike is a lot more than pound for pound. You know, you take 10 pounds of rotating mass off a bike and it's the equivalent of taking off more like 60 or 70 pounds off the total weight of the bike. So riding the bike now for a couple of weeks, like I said, it's for such a large bike, it is nimble as hell. It really is. Let me show you the bike really quick. So that is the bike. I ended up getting it, the white model. You guys, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I love the Stormtrooper black and white color scheme. Just go around the bike a little bit. Sorry, it's hard to do this. I'm not a YouTube pro. I don't have all these cameras all over the place. Yeah, there we go. I don't want dead air, so the only mods I've done to it, I put some stickers on it a little bit, just a little bit of personalization on it. You can see my little chicken strips left. So the bike gets over. It definitely pulls itself over, but it's like I said, it's no CBR 1000, it's no 600 series bike, but it moves. I took the bike on a trip, so my mother-in-law got into a car accident and she had to borrow my car. I had to work in South Florida, and I ended up hopping on the Busa and rode it for 175 miles with no problems. Comfortable. It was stable, like incredible. Coming up, well, I'm not going to say, let's just say I was on the Autobahn. Driving down the Autobahn with some guy with a Porsche 911 we were just messing around back and forth, and it was a good 75 miles. We never went below 100 miles an hour. And let me tell you, if you've done that on a leader bike, it gets shaky. They're light bikes, winds get them, winds can pull them, shake them side to side, and this bike is rock stable. I truly believe overall this is the best bike I've ever owned. They have the full electronics package in them, traction control, launch control. It's got lean angle traction control, different power modes. I mean, it's just, I'm sure you guys can read up on the specs. From an average guy's point of view and someone who's owned a lot of different bikes, I can honestly say that this is the bike that I have ever owned. I don't see myself ever getting rid of this one. I do still want another bike. I'm eventually going to get a naked bike. I'm really eyeing down the CB1000. Also looking at the BMW S1000 because I definitely want a naked bike. But in the meantime, guys, I just purchased a lift for it and let the mods begin. I already have an exhaust on the way, like I said. They say with the exhaust, people are getting about 185 to the wheel with it. I'm going to send my ECU out to Chris Moore, have him flash it, and we'll see what happens with this bike, guys. Let the fun begin. I'm back on two wheels and loving it, guys. Thanks for watching.